This week on Harness Racing 90, the third jewel of the Triple Crown of trotting for 3-year-olds, the oldest of the 3 jewels, and the one that many horsemen think is the most difficult to win, Kentucky Futurity at the Red Mile in Lexington in the heart of the Bluegrass. While we're there, we'll look in on another of the Red Mile's features, the annual fall yearling sale, from which champions of the past have emerged and from where future champions will come. Finally, we'll meet a young man, the youngest in fact in his profession, who at 16 is carving a niche in a field that plays an important role in the presentation of racing as major entertainment. I'm Stan Bergstein. When the weather is good, and it was magnificent last week, there is nothing in the fall that quite matches the Kentucky Futurity and all that surrounds it at Harness Racing's historic Red Mile in the very center of Lexington, Kentucky. Thousands gather for the race to inspect yearling trotters and pacers and to attend the major horse auctions that are part of autumn in Lexington. The Futurity itself is the oldest classic in harness racing, only 3 years short of its 100th anniversary. It has been won by many of the greatest trotters in the sport, but it also is notable as a graveyard of champions, and many favorites have fallen. 1987 was a classic example when Mac Lobel was seeking to clinch the Triple Crown.
3/4, 131-1. We should see a real last quarter. Top of the lane. Here comes Napolitano. Charging on the outside. On the inside, Mac now under drive. And Campbell has gone to the whip. And Napolitano's alongside him. Those two, they're side by side. It's going to be one of the two. Napolitano is going to win it. Napolitano has won the Kentucky Futurity.
This year, the Hambletonian and World Trotting Derby winner, Harmonious, was trying to break the trend by adding the historic Futurity to his victories in his quest for Trotter of the Year honors. When we return, Gary Seibel will bring us the story of the Futurity and the yearling sales in Lexington. Harness Racing 90 is brought to you by Harness Racing Communications.
Two of the greatest weeks in the sport of harness racing, the Grand Circuit stopover here at the Red Mile in Lexington, culminate today as the Kentucky Futurity, the third jewel in trotting's Triple Crown, highlights an absolutely splendid program, which also features the Kentucky Futurity Filly Stake and yet another performance by the incomparable Beach Tell. As Stan Bergstein pointed out earlier, the Kentucky Futurity is a race that doesn't always pan out the way it's supposed to. But today we have a solid favorite in Harmonious, and rightfully so, off of his fantastic Hambletonian win at the Meadowlands in August.
The rail. Harmonious poised on the outside for it. Coming down the lane. Royal Troubadour still bravely holding on to the lead. Embassy Lobel right there at his flank. Here comes Harmonious with his move. Harmonious forging on the outside to the lead. 100 yards out. It is Harmonious in front. It is beginning to pull away for driver John Campbell to win the 1990 Hambletonian at 154-1. Embassy Lobel was second. Royal Troubadour third.
Not only do we have a solid favorite in Harmonious, but that powerful colt from the powerful Lindy Racing Stable turns out to be the one in a strong 1-2 punch teaming up with stablemate Columnist for this year's Futurity. Columnist opened plenty of eyes last week here at the Red Mile, winning at elimination of the Transylvania Stake in a lifetime best, 155-1. The Speedy Crown Colt came back for that event's final and turned in a valiant effort, holding the lead gamely for most of the way, only to get caught in deep stretch, finishing second in a snappy 154-4 mile. With your entry today of Harmonious and Columnist, do you really think you can be beat today?
Sure. Anybody could be beat. Embassy Lobel, he's a horse that if he comes off the pace from anywhere in any kind of fractions, and either of our horses get a little roughed up, he could be right in there. Super Arnie, nobody knows what he can do. And Jeanne Somolli from the rail, you've seen in the first year of the Hamiltonian there that he could have been awful tough. So you have to remember all these horses and just not take your horse for granted.
Lou Guide is Embassy Lobel, winner of the Beacon Course Trot and runner-up to Harmonious in this year's Hamiltonian, left his calling card in the Transylvania last week. After a tough second-place finish to Columnist in that elimination, Embassy Lobel revenged the loss later that day, coming from off the pace to win the final with his characteristic late-stretch charge. It's obvious he'll need to be reckoned with today.
And what he has to do to win is, it's stating the obvious, but beat Harmonious, something he hasn't been able to do before. Unless you count the one time that Harmonious made a break, but that's not the same as winning. What he needs is to really just be covered up and be able to be within 4 or 5 lengths of the horses that are leading at the head of the stretch, and just have a clear run down the lane. And if the fraction's set up the way they should, within a large field and a lot of early speed, then if he can't reach, he doesn't have any excuse.
Today's winner of the 98th renewal of the Kentucky Futurity needs to capture 2 heats. The field did not have to be divided into eliminations, since only 9 other 3-year-old trotters decided to take on the favorite entry of Hambletonian winner Harmonious and stablemate Columnist.
They're off and running. Cheyenne Spur first on for the lead on the inside. Jeanne Somolli gets away second. Trotting third, Star Mystic. Fourth on the rail is Hanover. 5 Columnist. Racing 6 Drummer Hanover. 7 Embassy Lobel. Getting away 8, but behind a field of trotters as they swing around the turn is Harmonious. Dropping in 9 as they race that way, Super Arnie. 10 Royal Cold. 11 and trailing after being in trouble early is MB Elite. Field sweeping toward the quarter-mile mark and trotting with the lead as they race past that station, Cheyenne Spur. He leads them onto the backstretch. Front quarter 27-4. They're trotting toward the half. On the inside, getting the trip second down the backside is Jeanne Somolli. Third, Hanover. Trotting for Drummer Hanover. 5 Columnist. He moves to the outside. Trotting 6 Embassy Lobel. 7 behind him Harmonious. Trotting 8 Super Arnie. 9 Royal Cold. 10 on the outside Star Mystic. 11 and trailing MB Elite Field. Driving to the half-mile mark, and they've just reached it. And Cheyenne Spur and Dick Stillings lead him toward the upper turn. The half was trotted in 56 seconds. On the inside, trotting second, Jeanne Somolli. Third on the rail, Hanover. 4 is Columnist. He's moving up on the outside. 5 on the inside, Drummer Hanover. And now Embassy Lobel begins his drive. He is 6, now 5. And coming on Harmonious, and he has a lot of ground to make up. Behind him, Super Arnie. And Harmonious still follows cover. He's following Embassy Lobel. They're trotting toward the 3/4. And leading the way, Cheyenne Spur. Past that mark, Hanover is off the rail. He's moving on the outside. Jeanne Somolli third on the inside. They turn for home. 3/4, 25-1. And strong in the lane, Cheyenne Spur. And Columnist determined on the outside. He's still there, and he's still coming on. Columnist on the outside. Between trotters, getting up Jeanne Somolli as they trot to the wire. Here comes Jeanne Somolli. And he is the best at this point. Jeanne Somolli by a length to the wire. Jeanne Somolli has won the first heat.
For the popular Allen stable, Jeanne Somolli's win in the first heat of the Kentucky Futurity was a strong boost to their chances of capturing a second jewel in this year's trotting Triple Crown. The stable's world champion Royal Troubadour, who has since been retired to stud, won the Yonkers Trot earlier in the year. Carl Allen was quite pleased with his colt's performance today.
We got a perfect trip that time, and he drove him excellent, and we just hope for the same thing again.
And it appears that you'll get another opportunity for a perfect trip, seeing as how the post-position draw will favor you. Do you think that'll play a major part?
Oh, absolutely. A lot of people say on a mile track don't make any difference, and I say, well, give me the rail then. So it will make a big difference. But this horse is tough, and he's not short, so I'm sure he'll come back with a good performance again. But one thing, that can't take this away, and this is a tremendous record for him, and we're happy.
When we return to the Red Mile, we'll have the second and possibly final heat of the 98 Kentucky Futurity as Jeanne Somolli tries to send his competitors home early. It's been 18 years since a Hambletonian winner has gone on to capture the Kentucky Futurity. The last to do it was the last trotting Triple Crown winner in the sport, Super Bowl. For Harmonious to end that drought, he must not only win this second heat, but must return and beat Jeanne Somolli a second time in a two-horse race-off. A demanding task, even for this year's powerful Hambletonian champion. The long stake season and grueling two-heat format has taken its toll on these sophomore trotters, with Embassy Lobel and 3 other first-heat competitors opting not to return in the second heat. Jeanne Somolli's sparkling win in the first heat has suddenly made him the second favorite in the eyes of the public. Their first choice, of course, is still Hambletonian winner Harmonious, who finished 4th in the first heat contest.
They're off and trotting. This time Harmonious bursts out of the gate, grabs the racetrack on the inside. Cheyenne, Spur, and Harmonious are locked in a battle for the lead as they trot toward the turn. On the inside, getting away next, Jeanne Somolli as they trot toward the quarter, and they're rolling as they race that way. On the outside, Harmonious bulls his way to the front. On the inside, Cheyenne, Spur gives way second. Trotting third, Jeanne Somolli. 4th on the outside, Columnist racing on the inside. 5 as they swing around the turn, Star Mystic. 6 is Super Arnie. 7 and trailing, MB Elite, and they've raced past the quarter and 27 flat, and now they're on the backstretch. They're racing toward the half, and Harmonious grabbed the lead by a length and a half on the inside. Trotting second, Cheyenne, Spur. Jeanne Somolli has caught him. He's right there third. The pace is slowed as they race down the backside. And on the outside, ranging up, here comes Star Mystic. Behind him, Super Arnie on the outside with cover. He's 4th, he's 3rd. Star Mystic has made the top. Now second, Harmonious. 3rd on the outside, Super Arnie. 4th along the rail, Cheyenne, Spur. 5, Jeanne Somolli. 6 on the outside, MB Elite. At the back of the field, Columnist, and now they're past the half. Racing there, 55-1. They're into the upper turn. On the outside, taking command, Super Arnie by a length and a half. On the inside, racing second, Star Mystic. Along the rail, 3rd is Harmonious. On the outside, MB Elite moves up behind him. Coming on, Columnist, and Columnist full of trot. And Jeanne Somolli has been buried and shoved to the back of the field. They're at the 3/4. On the inside, Super Arnie. On the outside, coming on, Star Mystic, top of the lane, turning for home. 3/4 trotted, 1:24.2, and this could be a stakes record again. On the outside, Star Mystic as they drive to the wire. On the inside, Super Arnie, and now Jeanne Somolli finally gets shook loose. He's way wide, and he's trotting a storm. He has a shot between horses with the lead to the wire. It's Star Mystic coming on. Jeanne Somolli, Super Arnie still second at the wire. Star Mystic.
Once again, the Hambletonian winner failed to reverse recent history as Harmonious, stung by fast first-half fractions, faded to last. Early in the year, Star Mystic was touted as a Hambletonian contender, but various problems kept him from attaining that goal. A surprise victor in the second heat of the Futurity, Star Mystic withstood a late charge by Jeanne Somolli and ground down the lead of Super Arnie to cross the wire first. Now he must defeat Jeanne Somolli in a race-off to capture the 3rd jewel of trotting's Triple Crown.
Top of the stretch, Star Mystic, and now here it comes to the outside. Here comes Jeanne Somolli, and he's rushing toward the leader. On the inside, still with the lead, Star Mystic. Alongside him is Jeanne Somolli. Now they're side by side. They fight to the wire. On the inside, Star Mystic, Jeanne Somolli on the outside. That pair, it's going to be a photo. It's going to be Star Mystic. 155.
Star Mystic is a horse that trainer John Johnson says likes the front, and that's exactly where he sent Star Mystic, determined to keep the lead at all costs.
Race, so I had to try to go to the front because I think he's much better on the front. And down the stretch, he was by me about half a length. But then I saw his horse; he was also getting a little tired. So when I was maybe I hit me a hour too many times. But you get excited in these kind of races. So, but he came back good at me, and I'm glad he won it.
The 98th Kentucky Futurity is in the record books as Star Mystic, touted early in the year, finally realized his potential. For driver-trainer John Johnson, it was his first such Futurity win and one he'll remember for a long time. It capped a great day of racing for John Johnson and the Continental Farm Stable, a day that also saw their sophomore filly trotter, Camellia Lobel, featured in the Filly Futurity. Along with the other 2 heat winners, Hanover and Essence Bear, Camellia Lobel had to return for a 3-filly race-off. A race-off is usually a matter of which horse can seize the lead, slow the pace to 3/4, and then sprint off down the stretch. Well, that's exactly what happened in the Philly Futurity, and once Nivea Hanover and Bill Herman made the front, the end result was inevitable.
Flying on the outside, on the inside, Nivea Hanover, a battle to the wire. Nivea Hanover has won the Kentucky Futurity for fillies.
The top contender for Horse of the Year, Beach Towel, has tallied wins in the Meadowlands Pace, Prix d'Eté, Adios, and Little Brown Jug. He's danced every dance and taken on all comers on every size track. But Kiev Hanover, a winner of a messenger elimination and a heat of the jug, is making things rather interesting of late for Beach Towel. Tightly boxed in his last start here at Lexington, he made a bold first-over move to hand Beach Towel a defeat in the Bluegrass Stakes. The time of 1:50-1 was indeed impressive. And when these colts meet again in the Breeders' Crown, the sparks are guaranteed to fly. When we return, we'll take a look towards the future.
Dandruff.
With the birth of every foal comes the hopes and dreams of a brilliant future. The first year of life is the most carefree, spent playing, eating, and enjoying the green grass and companionship of the other youngsters. After these months spent growing strong in the pasture comes the first step in realizing the potential of these young colts and fillies, preparation for the yearling sales. The red clay of Lexington is not just the proving ground for world champion racehorses. Every fall, it's also the arena where breeders see their hard work come to fruition as future champions go into the sales ring. This year at Tattersall, Center Court, a full brother to world champion and pacer of the year, Camptastic, is the star of the Northwood consignment. Farm manager Bob Bonney had this to say about the arduous process of breeding and raising yearlings with the hope that each individual bears the mark of a champion.
There's no question it is a tough process, but it's got a lot of rewards, and I think if you handle it properly, it could have some financial rewards as well.
Bob Bonney's hopes for Center Court were realistic, as the price of $56,000 was as predicted. Now it's up to new owner Nick Colanero to take the youngster forward on his date with destiny. Though there were not a lot of six-digit yearlings, the sale reflected today's economy.
Well, I think the whole economy in general had some effect. What used to happen decades ago was that the horse economy operated sort of out of the mainstream. But I think now more and more the horse economy sort of reflects what's going on in the rest of the world. And you know, the price of horses is down from what it was 10 years ago, but it has always been cyclical. It always has come and gone. And when it does move, it moves like a roller coaster, up in wild sweeps and down just as fast. So it'll be back.
With Scandinavians dominating the trotting scene, both at the sales and on the track, the victory for John Johnson, the first Swede ever to win the Kentucky Futurity, was a fitting close to a great fortnight of action. Next stop on Harness Racing 90, a look at the sport's youngest race caller.
We're here.
Racing is like any other sport. It's always attempting to get new fans into the track, and especially younger fans. Well, here at Quinte Raceway in Belleville, Ontario, not only are they getting the younger generation into the grandstand, they've even put one behind the microphone.
They move into the turn. Rossland Stephen rushes up now to take charge. Belmar Dallas went on a break. Singer Hill now takes over second. Dell on the inside. Meadow H Gigolo is third. Dream of Cash comes along fourth. Finally Flipped is away in fifth. Off stride in sixth is
He's probably the youngest announcer that's calling races at a meet in North America, possibly. We don't know of anybody younger, and as I know this program goes across the country, we certainly like to hear about a younger one. Maybe we can match him up here.
Rossland Stephen right there.
The man behind the microphone is Chris Allen. He's completing his first year as the track announcer at Quinte, and Chris is only 16 years of age.
Chris started coming to the races here with his parents, and he became friends with Gordon Cindy Horner. And they referred him to me to see if we could do something for him, to give him something to do around the racetrack, because he was certainly interested. So on the opening day of qualifiers in April of 1987, little Chris, at this time I think he's 13 years old, he wandered up to the judges' stand, and all he could say is, "I'd like to call races." So we give him a shot. Well, it's the same old story with everybody when they started. He could call the one horse, but he couldn't call the other 7. So I talked to Chris afterwards, and he said he'd love to come back and try it. So I said, every Friday night prior to the races, we have qualifying races here. So if you start coming back here, we'll give you an opportunity each week. It got that he could call 2 horses, 3 horses, 4 horses. Finally, he started to call the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, but he'd lose the front end of the mile then. Sooner or later, he put it all together.
Did you ever think, though, in your wildest dreams, that at 16 years young, you would have a job at a racetrack?
Not as an announcer, that's for sure. Maybe a different position, parking or something, but never as an announcer. But it came true early this year. Jack offered me the job, and I was real happy.
Chris is still too young to drive, and so he gets a lift to work with his parents, who introduced him to the sport of horse racing when he was only 7 years old.
This really amazes not only me, but a lot of my friends, how he can get up there and announce the horses, and his English is good. He's got good control of it, and picks out facts that, you know, are sort of obscure and things like that. I'm really pleased and surprised, too.
Taking over, finally flipped.
Tell me what you think of the track announce here in Belleville.
I think he's super. I think he's done a fine job so far.
Did you know he's only 16 years old?
No, I had no idea at all.
The announcer, oh, he's a great guy. He knows a lot about the racing, and he's very communicative. He really gets his message across to the people when he's talking. It's good to see a young kid like that get into the sport that early and be that good at it.
Yeah, I bought a race tape of most of the announcers, and I listened to that quite a bit. And I went to the Little Brown Jug 2 years ago, so I got a chance to listen to Roger Houston. That was an experience. And I go to Greenwood quite a bit, so I get a chance to listen to John Craig there. Alan Vance, the winning trainer and driver. That's
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if Chris Allen is feeling just a little nervous tonight, and it has nothing to do with the presence of our camera. You see, tonight is not your average night at the track. There's a special guest here, and he just happens to be one of the superstars of harness racing. Billy O'Donnell's here. Any pressure on you?
Yeah, a little. We don't get drivers like that often. We had another one come earlier the year, but this is just the second guest driver, and he's made the most money, I guess, ever as a driver. It does put a little pressure on me.
This kid, he sounds really good. I mean, he's got a great voice for it and stuff, and comes over good. But you can hear him way down the next county. I wasn't even aware that he was 16 years old till Harry told me he sounds as good as Jack Lee.
Half is reached in 101.5.
Are you ready? Are you prepared for criticism? You're only 16, but you know racing fans, they can be very critical, and they like a good announcer. Are you prepared to handle that criticism?
Well, I had to handle it the first 3 weeks here. They were yelling up and everything, but it's toned down. And I guess the most part like it. Still a few, though. It might get worse, I guess. Might get better, though.
I think he's got a good future in it. He loves it tremendously. He doesn't always show that outwardly, but inside he's deeply in love with it. And for 16, he's got a quick early start on it.
It comes easy now. It never used to, but with lots of practice, it comes easy to me now.
What do the kids at school think?
They still can't believe it. A lot of them have just come for the first time tonight to hear me announce, so I'll have to ask them tomorrow at school.
He's only 16 years old, but Chris Allen is confident that he will achieve his goal of becoming a race announcer. But he does admit that realizing his dream might be just a little tougher. And that dream is to call a Little Brown Jug. But you know what? Nobody here is betting against him. I'm Brad Diamond reporting for Harness Racing 90.
A young man moving fast. And next week, we will bring you the story of the fastest moving young female in the history of harness racing, Miss Easy, in the $400,000 Three Diamonds Pace from Garden State Park in New Jersey. I'm Stan Bergstein. Harness Racing 90 has been brought to you by Harness Racing Communications.